The silence lasted exactly 4 seconds. For seconds in which Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's hand froze halfway to the document she was about to enter into the record. For seconds in which every person in the House Ethics Committee hearing room understood that something irreversible had just happened. The Speaker of the House had just interrupted a committee hearing he was not part of. Mike Johnson sat in the back row, Navy suit pressed to perfection, American flag pin gleaming like a tiny moral compass. He had slipped in quietly 17 minutes earlier, supposedly observing, the way speakers sometimes do. Everyone knew the truth. He had come for one reason, to watch Jasmine Crockett question a witness on ethics reform legislation that threatened the comfortable, low-oversight ecosystem powerful men prefer. Chairman David Joyce, caught utterly flat-footed, managed a week. Mr. Speaker, this is highly irregular. Johnson did not wait for permission. Powerful men who believe God rides shotgun rarely do. Mr. Chairman, his Louisiana drawl carried that particular Sunday morning certainty. I apologize for the interruption, but when I hear questioning that suggests good, decent, Bible-believing members of this body are somehow ethically compromised simply for holding traditional values, I am compelled by conscience, to remind everyone of something fundamental. He paused to practice preacher's pause. 3 beats of silence calibrated for television. Service in this Congress requires moral fitness, not just legal fitness. And some members forget that their own rhetoric undermines their moral authority to cast stones at colleagues trying to serve their constituents and their God with dignity. His eyes locked on Jasmine Crockett. Perhaps the gentle lady from Texas should reflect on biblical principles of humility and self-examination before questioning the integrity of others. Matthew 7, verse 5. First remove the beam from your own eye. Republicans in the room nodded like choir members hitting the amen. Democrats shifted, calculating the impossible. Object and be painted anti-Christian, or sit quiet and let the sermon land. C-SPAN cameras scrambled to frame the speaker. Live stream viewers climbed past 60,000 in seconds. Fox News cheer-ins were already being written in distant control rooms. Jasmine Crockett did not flinch. She did not frown. She did not look wounded. She smiled. Not the polite smile of Capitol Hill. Not the angry smile of a viral clapback. The prosecutor smile. The one that appears when a witness has just handed you the murder weapon with their fingerprints still warm. She placed her prepared questions face down with ceremonial finality. Reach for 3 folders, 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green, lined up like ammunition. Open all 3 at once, fanning documents so the C-SPAN cameras could see the thickness, the color-coded tabs, the forest of sticky notes. Receipts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, she said, and her voice had changed. The conversational Texas lilt was gone. This was the voice that used to make drug dealers and corrupt cops sweat in Dallas County courtrooms. Thank you for that biblical instruction about beams and eyes and casting stones. That framing will be incredibly helpful for what comes next. The room temperature dropped 10 degrees. Mr. Chairman, she continued, eyes never leaving Johnson, the witness has been exemplary. I have no further questions for him. But since the Speaker of the House has chosen to interrupt these proceedings to question my personal moral fitness using biblical standards, I have a request. She paused just long enough for the trap to be felt, not yet seen. I invite Speaker Johnson to take the witness seat. The American people deserve to examine, under oath, whether the gentleman himself meets the moral and biblical standards he just invoked to silence me. Dead. Silence. Chairman Joyce's mouth actually hung open. No one summons the Speaker of the House to a committee witness table, like a defendant. Mike Johnson's face cycled through 4 distinct emotions in 2 seconds: confusion, irritation, calculation, and finally the old familiar mask of sanctimony, with a patronizing chuckle. Congresswoman, I came to observe and offer perspective, not to testify. I am the Speaker of the House. I understand your title, Crockett replied, calm as winter steel. But you made this about character. You made this about who is standing to discuss ethics. So tell us, Mr. Speaker, are you willing to be examined by the same standards you just applied to me? Or do biblical principles about beams and eyes only apply one way? The trap snapped shut with an audible click. Refuse. And he looks like a hypocrite who can dish sermons but not take scrutiny. Accept, and he faces a prosecutor with 3 folders full of ammunition. Johnson, lifelong believer in his own untouchable righteousness, never imagined the folders existed. He assumed his record was clean enough for the brand he sold. He stood. "Fine," he said, smiling like a man who still thought this would be easy. "If the gentle lady wants to waste committee time examining my decades of faith-based service, I have nothing to hide." 5 words that would age like milk in the sun. He walked to the witness table, flag pin catching the light like a prop. Chairman Joyce swore him in with trembling hands. Jasmine Crockett's expression went flat. Professional. Predatory. She picked up the first document from the blue folder. "Thank you for taking the oath, Mr. Speaker. Let's begin. Since you invoked moral fitness and biblical principles," Crockett began, "we will examine your conduct by your standards, not mine, not the Democratic caucus, yours." She placed a letter on the table. September 14th, 2016. A letter you sent constituents promising that a member of Congress must be above reproach in all financial dealings, full transparency, complete honesty, no hidden income or undisclosed relationships. You stood by that standard 30 minutes ago under oath. Yes or no? Johnson nodded, still confident. Absolutely. Thank you. She fanned 6 financial disclosure forms across the table, like playing cards. 2015 through 2020. Your official filings, signed under penalty of perjury. Each year you received income from Alliance Defending Freedom. Approximately $147,000 total, according to later amendments and public reporting. Yet on none of these forms did you disclose it. Not once. 6 years. Johnson shifted. Disclosure rules are complex. It's a yes or no question, Mr. Speaker. Did you disclose the income? A pause. The income may not have been reported initially due to... No, Crockett said, not as interruption, but as verdict. You did not. She let the silence do violence. $147. 000 from an organization with business before Congress, hidden for half a decade. You corrected the forms only in October 2023, weeks before you ran for Speaker. Not when the omissions happened. Not when reporters first asked. Only when the gavel was within reach. She held up his own 2016 letter again. No hidden income. Your words. You had hidden income. By your own standard, are you above reproach? Johnson's jaw worked. I amended the disclosures. Inadvertent omissions for 5 straight years totaling nearly $150,000? If a Democrat did that, would you call it inadvertent? He had no answer. She moved to the next document. 2022. You attacked your opponent for late disclosures, called it corruption and betrayal of public trust. Your own 2022 disclosure was filed 87 days late. By your standard, Mr. Speaker, what is the consequence for corruption? The room was mausoleum quiet. C-SPAN viewers hit 134,000. Crockett opened the green folder. Color-coded tabs like a legal brief from hell. Let's continue with your second standard. One standard applied equally, no exceptions. You co-sponsor resolutions demanding removal of Democrats for stock trades 45 days late, for campaign finance irregularities, for using official resources improperly. You said ethics violations, no matter how small, disqualify members from leadership. She produced a 20-page timeline, held together by a binder clip. Your record. June 2017, late stock transaction, ExxonMobil. Reported 4 months, late April 2018. Annual disclosure 63 days, late August 2019. FEC fine for improper independent expenditure, reporting January 2020. Late quarterly file in May 2021. Undisclosed speaking fee October 2022. Disclosure 87 days, late March 2018. Improper expense categorization, requiring amendment. 7 documented violations in 6 years. She laid the timeline down like evidence in a murder trial. When Democrats committed identical violations, you demanded expulsion. By your own words, Mr. Speaker, you are unfit for leadership. Period. Johnson tried to object. These are minor administrative. Minor? Her voice cracked like a whip. You didn't call them minor when Democrats did them. You called them disqualifying. That's not one standard. That's two standards. One for them, none for you. Republican members stared at the floor. No one came to his rescue. How do you defend a man being destroyed by his own words? Crockett closed the green folder. We're not done. She opened the red folder. You built your brand on family values and biblical marriage. Let's see how that holds up. Document 1. Violence Against Women Act Reauthorization, 2019. Bipartisan bill to fund domestic violence shelters. Strengthen protective orders, protect victims. You voted no. Why? Johnson. It contained problematic provisions. It extended protections to LGBTQ victims. That's what you opposed. Some families, in your view, don't deserve protection from violence. Second document. Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act Reauthorization. Funding to investigate child abuse. Support foster care. Prosecute predators. You voted no, because it allowed investigation of abuse in religious institutions. Third, Kids Online Safety Act. You publicly used Covenant Eyes monitoring software with your son, made it part of your brand, yet you voted against systemic online protections for all children, performative personal piety for you and your family, but no legislative protection for anyone else's kids. She kept going, document after document, vote after vote. Then the hammer. Alliance Defending Freedom, the group that paid you the hidden $147,000, spent millions fighting to prevent LGBTQ couples from adopting. You personally worked on briefs arguing same-sex couples are inherently harmful to children. She held up a legal brief with Johnson's name on it. You argued loving, vetted, stable same-sex couples should be banned from adopting because children need traditional family structures. There are 400,000 children in foster care right now, thousands of qualified LGBTQ couples ready to give them homes. You fought to keep those kids in institutional care rather than let them have two loving parents if those parents were gay. She let that land. You vote against foster care funding, against child abuse investigation resources, against online predator protections. Yet you claim to be the champion of children. The only child protection fight you wage is preventing loving families from forming. Johnson tried, my religious beliefs. Your religious beliefs require discriminating against families, but not protecting kids from actual predators? That's convenient theology, Mr. Speaker. She closed the red folder. Now, let's talk about the Ninth Commandment. Crockett held up the Texas versus Pennsylvania lawsuit filing, December 2020. Your name is on this document alleging massive election fraud in 4 states, asking the Supreme Court to throw out millions of votes. Johnson. There were legitimate constitutional, 63 court cases, every single claim rejected, many by Republican judges, Trump appointees, 0 evidence of fraud, 0. Yet you signed legal documents claiming fraud under penalty of sanction. She dropped a stack of rulings, thud. Wisconsin Supreme Court. No evidence. Pennsylvania, no evidence. Georgia hand recount, no fraud. Arizona audit, no fraud. You knew or should have known these claims were baseless. Another document. The amicus brief Johnson organized for 147 House Republicans repeating the same lies after courts had ruled. You led an effort to overturn a legitimate election based on conspiracy theories. That's not constitutional concern. That's bearing false witness on a historic scale. She held up a Bible verse card. Matthew 7 verse 5, the same verse he quoted at her. You call me unfit because I lacked a beam-free eye, but you signed documents containing lies that fueled an attack on this Capitol. 5 dead, 140 officers injured, a mob hunting the vice president, because people believed the lies you gave legal legitimacy to. Johnson's voice rose, defensive. I never condone violence. You condone the lies that caused it. Even after January 6th, you repeated them. February 2021 interview. Serious questions remain. No serious questions remained. Every question had been debunked. You lied anyway. She leaned in. Thou shalt not bear false witness. You violated the Ninth Commandment in an attempt to overthrow an American election. Then you quoted Matthew 7 at me like you were the righteous one. The room was beyond silent. It was vacuum. Crockett arranged every document in 2 columns. Column 1, what Mike Johnson demanded of others. Column 2, what Mike Johnson did. The columns did not match. This is not policy disagreement, she said. This is a career built on moral superiority while violating every principle you preached. You don't have conservative values. You have branding. And the brand just collapsed under the weight of your own record. Jasmine Crockett stood. Mr. Speaker, you interrupted my questioning to lecture me about moral fitness. You invoked scripture. You suggested I examine myself. She gathered the 3 folders, red, blue, green. I'm not the one with 7 ethics violations. I'm not the one who had $147,000. I'm not the one who signed lies to overturn an election. I'm not the one who votes against protecting children while claiming family values. I'm not the one who demands standards from everyone else while exempting myself. By every measure you created, by every biblical principle you weaponized, by every standard you demanded of others, you are morally unfit for the office you hold. Not by my judgment, by yours. She looked straight into the C-SPAN cameras. The American people deserve leaders who practice what they preach. Speaker Johnson is not that leader. His own words condemn him. The receipts are undeniable. She sat. I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman. The record speaks for itself. Chairman Joyce, voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Speaker, do you wish to respond? Johnson sat hunched, smaller than when he entered. The flag pin looked plastic now. When he finally spoke, the moral certainty was gone. These are complex situations taken out of context, partisan attacks on Christian conservative leadership. The words died in the air. No one bought them, not even him. Crockett, without looking at him, I use your words, your votes, your filings. If your own record destroys you, that's not a partisan attack. That's accountability. She turned to the cameras again. You can leave now. We're done. Mike Johnson rose, walked out of frame, and out of the moral authority he spent a lifetime building, destroyed in 90 minutes by 3 folders and a prosecutor who simply held up the mirror. 2 hours later, the clip was the most viewed video in America. 2 weeks later, the Ethics Committee opened a formal investigation. 6 weeks later, Republicans began defecting on procedural votes. For months later, Mike Johnson announced he would not seek re-election and would step down as Speaker, framing it as family time. But everyone understood forced resignation. 1 year later, Jasmine Crockett's book, The Morality Mirror, sat on the New York Times bestseller list, while Mike Johnson sat in the audience of a candidate forum in Louisiana's 4th District, a private citizen watching 5 Republicans run against his legacy. The 3 folders, red, blue, and green, hang framed in her office, not as trophies, as reminders. When hypocrites lecture you about beams in your eye, sometimes all you need is a mirror and receipts. The end.